The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Well, happy Monday to you. Bill Martinez here. For more information on the show, you can check it out, as always, BillMartinezShow.com. A lot of conversation over the weekend regarding Form 1023. Well, is it true? If it is, many people believe that Joe Biden should be and likely will be impeached. The American people, you must agree, have never been more polarized since probably the Civil War. On one side, there is irrefutable evidence of criminality, and the other, more narrative and opinions that have been refuted by 2 impeachment trials and over $70 million of legal investigations. That's just for starters. So who and, just so what and who are we to believe, huh? As our democratic republic hangs in the balance. Well, fortunately for us, we have Paul Kamenar joining us. He's the Washington, D.C. lawyer who is also counsel to the National Legal and Policy Center, the public interest watchdog group. And he's here to break it down for us. Paul, welcome to the show. Good to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, help us out. I mean, the reveals that have been coming out, especially in the last 2 weeks, I mean, it's like they're coming at us through a fire hose here, Paul. Yeah. What can we make of this?
Yeah. Well, we can break this down a little bit. I mean, last week we had the testimony of the 2 IRS whistleblowers who, in their testimony, laid out all the evidence of how Hunter Biden was violating the tax laws, taking as business deductions hotel rooms for prostitutes, how he paid a sex club $5,000 and wrote that off as a golf club membership. And I can go on and on and on, but if you or I did that, we'd have.
Right.
And then, of course, after that hearing, Senator Grassley and also James Comer, who's chairman of the Oversight Committee, released this thing called the Form 1023. It's I've got a copy here, right here, FD 1023. And this was the form that had a confidential source tell the FBI about wrongdoing by Hunter Biden and his dad. Now, to give some background, the FBI first did not even acknowledge this form existed. And it took a while for Comer and Senator Grassley to get the FBI to brief them on it. They were briefed on it, and finally they said, "Hey, look, the American people have to see this."
Right.
So it was released.
I think they surprised the FBI director because they had access to it, had seen it, and I don't think Christopher Wray realized that they had already seen it, did he?
Yeah, I don't think so either. And it's incredible that Chris Wray doesn't really know what's going on under his watch here, but the form itself is unclassified. So you're saying, well, if it's unclassified, why can't the American people see it? Well, the FBI was saying, well, we don't want to compromise what they call their sources and methods. And that's the general excuse they give all the time for not releasing information.
How about an ongoing investigation? That's the other King's X that they use, right?
Yeah, exactly. That this is part of an ongoing investigation. Well, in terms of the sources, the confidential human source is redacted on the form, so there's no compromise there. His name is left off. And what are the methods of the FBI getting this information? Oh, they use something really spy movie type and really intricate. It was a phone call from the confidential agent to the FBI. This
Yeah.
is something they don't want the public to know, that they're getting information by phone calls. I mean,
Right.
it's not as if the FBI planted some secret bug in a hotel room or
Mhm.
tapped somebody's phone. I mean, that could be their secret sources they don't want to release
Right.
to the public. So this
Mhm.
is a real, lame excuse here. But now let's go into what the FDA 1023 form says. I mean, what it's all about here is a confidential human source says, "Hey, look, I talked and met with the executives from Burisma.
Mhm.
One was the chief financial officer, and one was the actual director of it. His last name was Slovensky."
Mhm.
And the confidential human source said that they were consulting him about wanting to buy an oil and gas company here in the United States to sort of merge their operations in Ukraine with U.S. and try to get some more money coming in.
Yeah, but
And
Paul, that was hang on. The predicate on that though was weren't they in trouble? Burisma was, and they needed cover. And if they've got American support, this would give them cover, right?
well, yeah, exactly. I was
Right.
about to get to that. That they
Okay,
were,
sorry. Okay, go ahead.
no, it's okay. They were under investigation by this prosecutor in Ukraine
Mhm.
by the name of Shokin, and they were trying to get some political cover, and so they had, first of all, Hunter Biden join their board because, of course, that's the son of the vice president at the time,
Mhm.
and that certainly would help us. And they thought that would help, but then they talked to this confidential agent or
Mhm.
informant rather,
Right.
who said he told him that, we just hired Biden basically as window dressing. They
Mhm.
said he was stupid. Even the CEO said that he told the guy, he says that Hunter Biden was stupid and his dog was smarter. Zelensky's dog. I mean, that's what Hunter Biden's getting paid all this money
Right.
because he's an expert in oil and gas
Right.
affairs. Give me a break. And so
Mm.
what happened was the confidential human source told these guys, "Well, you got Hunter Biden, but this investigation that's going on, you can probably handle that by hiring some Ukrainian lawyer to defend your charges,
Mhm.
for maybe $50,000 and all that."
Right.
And he says, "Oh," laughed that off. He goes, 50,000? We've already paid or are paying. It's not
Yeah.
clear whether they paid it $5 million to Hunter Biden and $5 million to Joe Biden, his dad, for a
Right.
total of $10 million.
See,
Right?
I bet his stupid dog couldn't generate $10 million in
Yeah, unless
payoffs, right?
yeah, I don't think the stud fees are that high for show
Right.
dogs.
Exactly.
Anyway, so this is what is the essence of this FD 1023,
Mm.
and the Burisma people saying, "Look, you know, we're taken care of by this money," because at that time it was Vice President then Joe Biden
Right.
who said to the Ukrainian officials, "I'm going to withhold $1 billion in aid to Ukraine unless you fire Shokin, the prosecutor." And
Exactly.
Biden bragged to the and what happened? And then 24 hours they did it. Well,
Yeah.
that was the prosecutor who was looking after the
Right.
wrongdoing of Burisma and Hunter Biden. So it really was amazing. Now, in terms of further evidence in the FD 1023, the confidential human source said that Zlovensky, the head of Burisma, said that he had text messages and 14 voicemails,
Yes.
voice messages,
Mhm.
recordings, two of them with Joe Biden, and the other remaining 12 with Hunter Biden.
Hunter Biden, yeah.
So
Exactly.
there is the hard evidence
Mm.
if the FBI can get this from this guy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're talking with Paul Kamenar, Washington, D.C. lawyer, who is also counsel to the National Legal and Policy Center Public Interest Watchdog Group, as we're discussing Form 1023 that, well, I'll tell you, people are shocked. There, no question whatsoever, Paul. I agree. The redactions seem to be kind of out of the process and a typical knee jerk reaction out of the intelligence community because they don't want you to know anything. And it's only on a need to know basis. But they're so far down the road here that it is putting quite the blemish on the FBI and on the Justice Department, as well as the intelligence community, because more and more, I mean, look what's happening with polling. People aren't trusting. I think they're probably at their lowest polling that they've shown in decades in terms of trustworthiness.
Yeah, that's right. And in terms of the cover up with this document, keep in mind that the IRS whistleblowers testified that they were not allowed to see this form, and they wish they could have had it to help them corroborate their investigation.
Well, Paul, does it lead you to believe?
Excuse me.
Does it lead you to believe that the FBI, was not real? They weren't really serious about this. They were trying to, like you said, cover up. And as we've experienced, I think for the last decades, is the cover up always ends up being worse than the crime itself. And it seems like we're going down that road again.
Yeah, it does. And again, with this form, the Justice Department also had it sent to the U.S. Attorney in Delaware. This is the guy, David Weiss, who's coming up with this sweetheart plea deal. And he also deep sixed it and didn't follow through with it at all. So here you have the IRS agents being blocked from reviewing this form, as well as, by the way, blocked from at Hunter Biden's laptop, which contained a lot of the damning evidence about his Burisma doings and his, money laundering. And here you have like $17 million at least, and counting, that Hunter got.
They're saying it could be over
sources,
30. Yeah,
and it went through. Yeah, after when all said and done, it could be up to $30 million.
exactly. That's what I was going to say.
This is just the initial stuff that they found.
Right.
Right. And it went to, who did it go to? 9 different Biden family members, including the grandchildren. I mean, what did they do to earn this money? And so it really is it's despicable.
Well, it might almost been a bit justified if they'd have given it to the grandchild that shall not be named or numbered in the count, because then you could almost justify and say, okay, well, I get that. Maybe it's a Hunter payoff kind of deal. But of course, that 4-year-old was not included in the payout, I guess.
No, she wasn't. But what she is getting is some of Hunter Biden's artwork, if you can believe that, as compensation for his child support payments. And this is, of course, a grandchild that Joe Biden has never acknowledged. He keeps on talking about his 6 grandchildren. Well, what about the 7th? I mean, it really is a pretty sad state of affairs there.
Well, how much are those paintings going to be worth if Joe Biden and Hunter Biden end up in jail or discredited at any level?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, right now, the so-called payments for these range from like $50,000 to a couple $100,000, but that also is a scandal in itself. Because who's buying this?
Yeah,
is it some Chinese interest who are buying these artworks by Hunter Biden? I mean, it really is despicable in terms of all this money. You've got 130 suspicious activity reports that the Treasury Department has on all the money going in and out of all the Hunter Biden bank accounts. You have a couple of dozen LLC businesses that disguise where the money's going.
Mhm.
I mean, this is money laundering 101.
Exactly.
It's fraud 101. And all they're doing is saying, oh, this is a couple of misdemeanor tax violations for you forgot to check the box or take a deduction, or you forgot to add your tip income to your salary. I mean,
Right.
that's what misdemeanors are for. This
Right.
is where the even the IRS tax attorneys recommended felony violations, and this was in August 2022.
Mhm.
And they had a meeting with this guy David Weiss, and he sounded like he was on board with it. And what happened? It didn't go anywhere. And the other thing with him is that whether he had the authority to prosecute Hunter Biden in other federal courts, because there were some violations here in the District of Columbia, there were some violations in California,
Right.
and Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, said, "Oh, David Weiss has authority to file wherever he wants. He's more powerful than a special counsel." And David Weiss himself said to Jim Jordan in a letter back in early June, "Yeah, I can file whenever, wherever I want. No, I'm not hampered in any way." And then he had to revise that letter twice because the whistleblowers are saying that's not true. Because in
Exactly.
private meetings, David Weiss came and said, "Gee, sorry guys, the U.S. attorneys, who are, by the way, political appointees of Joe Biden in D.C. and California, said, no can do. We're not
Mhm.
taking your charges and filing them here in this court." So,
Exactly.
I mean, it just goes on and on. It's
No,
incredible.
it's unbelievable, because even Gary Shapley came out and spoke directly about it. He said that when that statement was made, Paul, that his ears perked up, and he said, "Wait a minute," and he made him, in essence, repeat himself to make sure that he understood that, what he was saying, because he was saying one thing, but in action, something else altogether different was occurring. And even Merrick Garland, if you listen to what he says, you just, Paul, you're an attorney. You know this stuff. You can smell this stuff from miles away, and you know that this thing is just mired in a web of deception.
Yeah, that's right. And Gary Shapley, as your listeners should know, was the supervisory IRS agent, the whistleblower.
Mhm.
And with him testifying was a guy named Joe Ziegler, who up until now had been anonymous. And he
Mhm.
was actually the line agent who was in charge of this investigation from day one.
Right.
And he was the one that at every turn and twist and turn was blocked from getting more evidence to prosecute this case. So in terms of Merrick Garland, you're right. So Merrick Garland said, "Oh, he's got full authority to file anywhere he wants at his call, his discretion." And then now we're saying that that's not true. So somebody's lying.
Exactly.
Either Merrick Garland or David Weiss, and Congress needs to get both of them in the hot seat under oath to find out who's lying. Because if it's Merrick Garland, he should be impeached for
Well,
lying to Congress, which is a felony.
Well, without a doubt. I mean, there should be contempt charges, and there's already some serious discussion about moving down the road of impeachment regarding Merrick Garland. That's just for starters. We've got to go to break. When we come back, our conversation with Paul Kamenar, the Washington, D.C. lawyer, continues. Stay with us.
The FDA issued an import alert for U.S. Customs authorities to detain illegal, disposable, flavored nicotine e-cigarettes from foreign countries, including China. Rich Marianos is a former assistant director for the ATF, now with Georgetown University.
These disposable e-cigarettes have become a real problem. It's encouraging to see the FDA act at the border, but our kids need them to take the next steps and remove these foreign disposables from the store shelves. They have the authority, and now it's time to act.
Sponsored by the Border Security Alliance.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right. For about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back. But you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now. 800-699-0358. 800-699-0358. 800-699-0358. That's 800-699-0358. Has your heater or air conditioner busted? Appliance broken? Computer crashed? Then you need an ARW home warranty. Home system and appliance repairs and replacements can cause stress and cost you thousands of dollars per year. With an A-plus BBB rating and a top-rated home warranty company on Consumer Affairs and Trustpilot, ARW Home provides superior service, featuring the industry's lowest service call fee. ARW Home has warranty plans that cover your kitchen and laundry appliances, heating and air conditioning systems, electrical and plumbing systems, and much more. Call 800-559-7562 to customize your plan. Plus, ARW has partnered with Azurian to protect your new and used tablets, laptops, TVs, and other home tech from accidental damage and wear and tear. All plans come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call 800-559-7562. That's 800-559-7562.
Well, we're back with you. Our conversation with Paul Kamenar continues. He's the Washington, D.C. lawyer. Paul, I did want to go back and talk about this judge that's hearing this case in Delaware. Yeah. A lot of pressure on this judge because, we've seen the shenanigans that have been taking place. Here, Weiss says he has full authority, and he takes the case to a Delaware prosecutor or attorney general and California attorney general. And the sense is, again, you're an attorney, so you know this kind of nuance and small ball of the legal system. I have this sense that these AGs said, I don't want to touch that with a hot foot, with a 10-foot pole. You're talking the president, the president's son, the Democratic Party. I kind of want to be around for a while. I'd rather not touch this. Am I misreading something here?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. These were the United States attorneys, not attorney generals, which are state officers.
Yes.
But, U.S. attorneys in D.C. and the U.S. attorney in Southern California. These are two political appointees that were appointed by Joe Biden. And so the U.S. attorney prosecuting the case for Hunter Biden had evidence that he had to go to the courts in those two jurisdictions for jurisdictional grounds, because that's where some of the crimes took place.
Mhm.
As I said earlier, Hunter was taking tax deductions in LA for hotel rooms for prostitutes and so forth. So the crime there was in California. So he went to those two U.S. attorneys and they said, no, can't do. We can't help you here. Now,
Right.
if he was a special counsel, or if indeed he had the authority that
Mhm.
Merrick Garland said he had, he doesn't need their mother may I permission. He could have
Right.
just gone in, convened the grand jury there himself, and
Mhm.
got the indictments in those two jurisdictions. So you're right, there was that cover up. Now, the judge now here, who will be hearing this case, she's, I believe, a Trump appointee,
Mhm.
which is good, hopefully.
But
She's
don't
really,
Paul. Let me interrupt you for just a second,
no.
because we hear that about Weiss. Oh, he was a Trump
Oh,
appointee,
right.
but he was basically horseshoed in by two Democratic senators, right? So come on, give me a break. I mean, they always try to say, "Oh, because Trump appointed him." Well, I mean, look at people need to stop for just a moment and realize when a new administration comes in, how many thousands of people do you have to appoint? And you've got what, 60 days or so in which to do that? It's
Yeah.
impossible.
Well, that's true. But the point is that this U.S. attorney, even though he was a Trump appointee, you're right, he was recommended by the Democratic senators to confirm him from the beginning
Right.
when he was appointed by Trump, because he has to be confirmed by the Senate, and it's just a political reality
Right.
that you have to play ball, so to speak, to get somebody in the position. And anyway, this is in Delaware. It's a very small state.
Mhm.
Everybody knows, of course, Joe Biden, and that's just not a particular place to engage in this kind of charges against Hunter Biden, his son.
Mhm.
Now, it's been from day one, everybody was saying, all the legal experts are saying, wait a minute. If any case calls for the appointment of an outside special counsel,
Mhm.
this would be the one, because
Exactly.
part of the special counsel regulations is that you appoint one if there's sort of a political conflict of interest.
Mhm.
And obviously, the conflict of interest is that it would be the Biden Justice Department prosecuting Joe Biden's son, and
Right.
therefore an independent or special counsel who's not connected with these people would have more free reign to do
Mhm.
it, just as Jack Smith is going around going after Donald Trump. So
Mhm.
this judge should, in my opinion, this, I think it's Wednesday, the
Mhm.
hearing is, should reject this plea deal and saying, hey, look, I'm not going to be part of this farce, this cover up, this miscarriage of justice. I'm going to appoint my own expert, kind of like a judicial special counsel.
Mhm.
Uh, say, I'm going to have that person investigate why you did not bring these others more serious charges and come back to me to see whether or not this plea deal you're proposing that I sign off
Mhm.
on is
Right.
really legitimate, or is just yet another cover up that's going
Mhm.
on.
Well, Paul, the problem you got is, as you mentioned, is the clear contrast of how they're treating one Donald Trump versus the Bidens. There's a clear differential, and it puts into consideration this idea of equal justice under the law. That does not seem to be the case. Here it is. You've got 40 FBI agents, guns blaring, helicopters, Navy SEALs out in the water at Mar-Lago when they storm Trump's residence, versus how they've treated the Bidens in giving, the attorneys for Hunter Biden a heads up that they were going to, check out a facility to go see if they could find some evidence there. They gave him a day's warning. I mean, at every turn, there's clear prejudice in how they have executed uh, everything involved with the Biden family versus Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's true. On the documents that Hunter Biden had at the Penn Biden Center,
Right.
it's this think tank. I'll put think tank in quotes
Yeah.
with respect to Joe Biden here in D.C., where he had dozens or more classified documents in his office that he had basically, since he became president, had left there for 2 years. And no one's ever asked Biden or the White House, why did it take 2 years for Joe Biden to say, I got some stuff here at that old office. I should have that cleaned out. And instead of calling up the Penn Biden Center staff and say, hey, could you put these boxes up and ship them to my house? No. What did he do? He sent a couple top expensive DC attorneys over there to go through the stuff. And lo and behold, they found these classified documents and they said, oops, what are we going to do?
Did these attorneys have top,
clearance?
Did they have clearance?
No, they did not, which is really remarkable.
Wow.
That's why they said, oh, we got to bring in somebody that does have clearance. And they went to the White House counsel and said, you've got clearance. Come on in and look at this stuff. And then they said, we immediately turned it over to the National Archives and the FBI. But then the FBI wasn't satisfied and went in and found more documents there, went in and found more documents in the garage in Delaware, all the stuff that was parked next to his Corvette.
Right.
And these were more documents than the attorneys said that, we turned everything over. Now, so there was a big difference. Now, the FBI did not issue search warrants for the Biden Center or for Biden's home in Delaware, the residence, or his beach house in Rehoboth, Delaware. And so, of course, Biden and the White House said, we're fully cooperating. Well, that's because if they weren't cooperating, the FBI would be issuing search warrants right away, and they didn't want the optics of that out. But you're right. So there's these classified documents that Joe Biden had, and then we don't know how many he had from Senate days. The reason that's a big point is because at his home in Delaware, they found a classified document that was dated from when he was in the Senate. Now, he was in the Senate for some 33 years, and all those documents are like 1,845 boxes stored at the University of Delaware. And so it's not clear whether the FBI went through those documents or not. There's been a lawsuit to try to have those documents released. The Delaware Supreme Court just 2 days ago denied that under the Delaware Freedom of Information Act and said, no, the public can't see these documents, even though Joe Biden can have them released to the public with the stroke of a pen, but don't count on it.
Exactly. Paul Kamenar is with us, and our conversation with Paul will continue right after the break. Stay with us. We've got more from Paul right after this.
I am a non-attorney spokesperson representing a team of lawyers who help people that have been injured or wronged. Have you been diagnosed with cancer? Do you use pesticides in your job? Specifically Roundup. Roundup, made by Monsanto, contains a chemical called glyphosate, which has been linked to cancer. If you've used Roundup and you have cancer, you may be entitled to a cash award. Over $10 billion has been set aside to pay users of Roundup who've been diagnosed with cancer. Time is almost running out to file your claim. So if you've been diagnosed with cancer and you've used Roundup, call the legal helpline now. You could receive a free cash award and have your medical expenses covered. And time to file is almost gone, so please call right now.
800-890-7088. 800-890-7088. 800-890-7088. That's 800-890-7088.
Attention timeshare owners. Tired of the financial stress? Were you misled by the salesperson? Don't or can't use your timeshare anymore? If any of these apply to you, then you may qualify for timeshare cancellation and get the relief you need now. Timeshare Defense Attorneys is the #1 affordable fixed fee legal solution in the country with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. That's certainly better than my grades. They even offer a 100% client satisfaction guarantee. Let one of their experienced lawyers evaluate your case and explain the process. If they take you as a client, they'll work on your case until it's resolved in your favor, guaranteed. Expect great service and a close working relationship with your lawyer, keeping you informed every step of the way, protecting your rights, interests, and even your credit. It's that simple. Even a kid like me can understand it. The consultation is free. Call today.
800-296-1332. 800-296-1332. That's 800-296-1332.
Welcome back. Bill Martinez here with Paul Kamenar. Paul is the Washington, D.C. lawyer who's also counsel to the National Legal and Policy Center. Paul, it seems that where we are, we're in an untenable position. It's no wonder the American people are so confused because we're hearing, we're seeing the same thing, hearing different stories, different spins, anonymous reports, and all this. And it's the Democrats against the Republicans. Progressives against conservatives. This is an untenable position, and something has got to give way here because the way they're going after Donald Trump and excusing Joe Biden and his family, it's quite obvious that the balance scales of the legal system are greatly compromised to such a degree that the American people no longer trust the intelligence community, where 51 of our top intelligence people claim that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. And of course, with all the reveals that have been coming out in the last couple of weeks, we realized that the FBI knew almost a year before the 2020 election that laptop information was in fact legitimate. And what they, the pressure that they put on social media companies like Facebook and Twitter to squash the information and to, attack our First Amendment rights, and in effect, basically interfere with a legally with a legal election process, Paul.
Yeah, that's right, and that's been well documented. How the FBI and everybody knew that this laptop was legitimate. The New York Post broke the story, and yet that story was kept off of social media because the Twitter and Facebook and the tech people did not want that information to get out, lest it would damage the elections, and that's despicable. And you had basically the FBI putting the thumb on the scale here to tilt the election, and then also with the midterm elections, 2022. Here again, you had this investigation of Hunter Biden, and the attorneys in August 2022 had all the goods to go after him, and yet this U.S. Attorney David Weiss basically put that on hold until we now know that it was this sweetheart deal that's coming up. But then they go after Donald Trump hammer and tongs for all the claims that he's violating, and there's more to come apparently. The special counsel is now talking about, after issuing a target letter to Donald Trump, is going to bring charges dealing with the January 6th electoral count, saying that somehow Donald Trump violated the civil rights of the citizens by not having, or trying to not have, the votes for Joe Biden properly accounted. And the law they're using there, the Civil Rights Act, has never been used in this way. It's basically used to going after people who attack or block African Americans from going to the polls and trying to prevent them from casting their vote, which is despicable and should not happen in a democracy. And so that's what the law was designed to do. But they're stretching the law here, just as Alvin Bragg in New York is stretching the law in terms of going after Donald Trump on this so-called hush money payments, because he said that was a felony because he was covering up federal crime. And you say, well, what's the federal crime? They said, oh, because he wasn't reporting the money he paid to Michael Cohen as a contribution to his federal election. And you scratch your head and you go, wait a minute. First of all, you're a New York City prosecutor. You don't have any authority in terms of what's a federal election law violation. In fact, the FEC did not bring charges under that theory, and neither did the Justice Department, because it just was too far. It was ridiculous. But there is this two-tier system of justice, as you said.
How does he have standing on this, Paul? Because time and again, when things, when you don't have standing, they're thrown out of the court immediately. But meanwhile, this is allowed to proceed and, incur even more legal expenses.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you talking about the Alvin Bragg case?
The Alvin Bragg case especially. But I think the legal expense, that's a minor issue compared to the political damage that they're trying to, put upon Donald Trump.
Right. Yeah, none of these cases would have been brought if Donald Trump was not running for president. So it's clear that these are all politically motivated. And the New York prosecutor there is saying, well, we have a New York law that says you've got to disclose in your business reports the expenses that you're paying for your business, and this expense paid to Michael Cohen was not properly accounted for. But that's a misdemeanor. That's a traffic ticket under New York law.
Right.
So now he's trying to bootstrap that into some kind of a federal case, and I don't think that will work.
Right. Now, it's the thing that amazes me, Paul, is like you said, the two-tiered justice system that we have here, even though we understand that some Congress people were a little offended that we would use the term two-tiered. We've been saying this for quite a while. I didn't realize that there were racial implications in that term. Did you?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I forget the congressman's name, but he's saying, in effect, how dare you use our term two-tier system of justice, because that's what we use excuse me, when we're talking about prosecuting minorities versus prosecuting whites. But that's a deflection.
Of course it is.
That has nothing to do with the case at hand. And the other argument they were using, and this was Congressman Jamie Raskin, I'm sad to say, is my congressman here in suburban Maryland and Chevy Chase. His argument to the IRS investigators was, well, wait a minute, you didn't have the final authority to determine what charges to bring, did you? And they go, no. That's the U.S. attorney's decision. He has discretion to decide that.
Right.
And you would say, yeah, but did he abuse that discretion? And the answer is clearly yes. So the other side really doesn't have any arguments against this. And this two-tiered system of justice, there's many examples, as you well know, and your listeners and viewers know, where the FBI was going after conservative Catholics in Richmond for being some kind of a terrorist group for what they were up to, going after parents at school board meetings as possible terrorists for objecting to the garbage that the school boards are teaching their kids, etc. So there's always been this two-tiered system of justice going after conservatives and leaving the liberals and Democrats unscathed. I mean, just look at the January 6th prosecutions. They went after everybody who was wearing a red MAGA hat at the Capitol that day, and yet there's thousands more of Black Lives Matters who during the riots were burning down buildings.
Exactly.
Cops were being killed, and even Kamala Harris helped support a bail fund to
Exactly.
get these guys bailed out of jail.
Mhm.
And there was no complaints there by the left, but it's just amazing. And there's, if I can also mention about the IRS whistleblowers at the hearing, there were not only these felony violations that were being charged, but Marjorie Taylor Greene
Mhm.
was pointing out there were violations of the Mann Act.
The Mann Act. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because here you had Hunter Biden transporting prostitutes across state lines to engage in prostitution, which is a federal crime. Normally, prostitution is a state crime because it all takes place in that jurisdiction. But when you have prostitutes being transported on airplanes, and she showed the actual, I think it was the United Airlines ticket
Yeah,
blown up.
exactly. Yeah,
And these are Mann Act violations.
right.
And where are the charges there? So it really is despicable what's going on here. And I've never seen a bigger scandal and cover up than this one. Like I said, the Watergate scandal was basically a picnic compared to what we're seeing now.
Yeah, this is just totally unleashed. The thing that I still have a question on, we got a couple minutes left here, Paul, is that the common issue regarding the Biden family and all this corruption and pay to play is the then president of the United States, Barack Obama. So under Barack Obama, you've got Joe Biden doing his shenanigans, Hillary Clinton with the Clinton Foundation, John Kerry, who eventually becomes a Secretary of State. They're all doing their games. And I'm going, how come Barack Obama's name doesn't come up at all? How is he protected on this? We know the big guy was getting 10%. Was there a bigger guy yet that was unmentioned that was getting, was participating in this side hustle?
Yeah, who knows? I would think that to be some further investigation.
Exactly. But I can tell you, yes, we know that if it was the other way around, my goodness, the media would not stop. They would be relentless on it. But here, there's no curiosity whatsoever. And we just throw out that question. It's almost rhetorical because I understand in your situation, you can't answer. I mean, it's just another one of those theories that goes out there. But it just seems that, ever since this began, a lot of these things that we were criticized for as being a conspiratist and that are coming out to be more true than theoretical.
Yeah, that's true. And I think there's enough here just on the Hunter Biden and Joe Biden case to go forward. And as I indicated, I think that if these payments of $5 million to Hunter Biden and Joe Biden is verified and corroborated, as I think they will be, then you will see Joe Biden having a bill of impeachment brought against him. So, stay tuned.
Yes, exactly.
I think we're going to see a lot more action here.
Well, Paul Kamenar, we got to leave it there. How can people be in touch with you?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just go to our website. It's the National Legal and Policy Center, and just our initials, nlpc.org, and you'll see on there links to some of the complaints we've had to argue that he should be registered as a foreign agent under the Foreign Agents Registration Act for all his work, and he's getting away with that. And we appreciate all the support we can get.
You got it. Paul Kamenar, Washington, D.C. lawyer. Thank you so much for being with us. I appreciate it. Okay, Paul. Thank you.
Bill. Anytime.
Thank you. All right. You take care. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being a part of the show. and participating. For more information and to be a part of this mighty Martinez movement to return to God and to save our country, go to BillMartinezShow.com. May God bless you and keep you and make his face shine upon you. Go and be blessed beyond your imagination. Thanks for being with us.